Let me just tell you, if you're making up excuses to why you shouldn't do it, I'm going to encourage you never, ever do it. Never. Because if you never do it, I don't have to get better.
Let's get started. My name's Ed Piskor.
I'm Jim Rugg.
And the man of the hour, Tower of Power, too hot to hold, too sweet to be sour, creator of Spawn himself, Todd McFarlane, man. It is February 2020. We're celebrating the 28th anniversary of the creation of Image Comics, man. Todd, thanks for showing up.
Sure. Thanks for giving me the time. Appreciate guys like you out there sort of spreading the gospel of comic books. You know, not necessarily Image or Spawn, but just comic books, right? All the geeks got to sort of hang together.
Here's a question. We started this YouTube channel about a year ago. We talk about comics and we sell comics like crazy. We show something off, it disappears off of eBay. Comic shops hit us up, ask us, man, you should have warned us before you made this video because we just sold out of like all our copies of this or that. Our audience has a name for it. They call it the Kayfabe effect. And if there's one guy who doesn't need our help selling books, it would be you. But you guys contacted us, and I just want to hear about your hustle a little bit, man, because it doesn't seem you ever relaxed that idea of like pounding the pavement and getting the word out. So can you please speak to that a little bit?
So it's a good word, the hustle. I think, and I believe I'm a prime example that if you've got sort of the drive and the hustle, your skill sets don't have to be that good, right? I mean, if you've got the drive and the hustle and you got the skill sets, then those are people that go into the Hall of Fame, right? But you don't necessarily need all of it because those are sort of unicorns that are walking the planet. So for me, when I look back, because you don't really sort of dissect your career too much, but when you do interviews like this, people ask you. When I look back and sort of determine why I had such a good life compared to others, especially in our business, because there's plenty of people, hundreds, if not thousands, that are way more skilled than I am. Then I think the hustle part actually does come in, right? And so and let me say, I don't think it's any one thing. As a matter of fact, I know it's not one thing. I actually think it's like dozens of things that add up, right? So if you, I mean, it's what I tell my sculptors when they're trying to figure out how to make their sculpt a little bit better. I go, you're thinking it wrong. You think you can make two moves, fix his chest, fix his face, whatever it is, and somehow that's going to basically get you the 20% better that you're looking for. I go, stop it. What you need to do is just make the face a little bit better, there's 2%. Make the chest a little bit better, there's 2%. Make the arm a little shorter, there's another 2. Make the hands a little more dynamic, there's another 2. And get it in 10 places, and get 2% in 10 places, and then you got your 20%. So for me, I think it's things like, doing a body of work when I first came into the industry, and so people now years later, decades later, still go, oh my God, Todd, you're my favorite Spider-Man guy. So I made some kind of impact on Spider-Man, and if I'd only done 3 or 4 issues, that impact wouldn't have come. I know when I went and did a lot of conventions, I've trained myself. I just showed the people at CGC where I just did some record-setting signing that I literally don't go to the bathroom or eat. And I was doing 17-hour days, and they would go, "What? You can go 17 hours without eating or going to the washroom?" It's really easy because you don't put anything in your body; nothing has to come out. So it's true. So what that would do for me, and it seems like a weird thing, having a good bladder is a good thing. But I'd go to shows, and then everybody, sometimes even when I was signing early with my Image buddies, they'd all have to take a lunch break because they got hungry. I don't. They all have to go to the bathroom. I don't. And so they would leave. And if it wasn't them, then it was, some of the other people I'd be sitting next to, Joe Quesada or Frank Miller, whoever it was I was at a show with. And they'd all have sort of human bodily functions they had to sort of take care of, whether it was hunger pains or and so I would always be there. And so people then would hang out and go, "I'm here for Frank Miller," but well, you're here, Todd. I'll get in your line. I'll get an autograph, right? And then if you're nice to them on top of it, then all of a sudden you can make a bit of an impression, and you do that to tens and tens of thousands of people over 20, 30 years, then you're going to get people that are over and above just the people that happen to like your stuff, right? I give my autograph away for free. Okay, check a couple more people in line. This may seem simple, but it all adds up. My signature is legible, right? When I sign that Todd McFarlane, I try to make it as close to that little signature scroll that I have on the cover as possible, so people can go, hey, look, I met that guy. There's your signature. There's the box. They match. Instead of it being some kind of scribble that you could have got anybody on the block to make, and I'm just going to take your word that that's the person that you met. And so to me, and then, again, even going on Spawn and staying on it, for a crazy amount, 300 issues plus.
Yeah, we got to get to that. We got to get to that world record.
So it's all of these things, and then taking Spider-Man and not treating him with reverence, and maybe because I started at 16, so it was okay. It wasn't blasphemy that I was changing things. I never really thought of it in those terms. So if you just sort of add all these things together, then you get this cocktail, this recipe that is now my career, right? And so I can't take a young person and say, hey, do this one thing drawing wise and you're going to have the same career, or do this. To me, there's 10 or 11 steps, I think, that you need to do a little bit of to give yourself any kind of chance that you think you're going to succeed in this industry in sort of a semi above average big way. If you want to, if you're looking at the Jim Lees again and the Frank Millers and the Scott Snyders and Greg Capullos of the world, then I think there's a couple of steps you can't ignore. So.
Todd, you described some differences there between yourself and say the Jim Lees and Scott Snyders and other people who are getting up to go to the bathroom break or the lunch break at these signings.
That would be every other human being. So it's not a slight to any of them.
No, sure.
Normal human beings. I've just trained myself to be an aberration, so it's okay.
I'm curious where that comes from. If you're looking at, I don't know, business leaders, other examples, because it's something we don't hear a lot when we hear, how do you be a successful cartoonist? People usually talk about different influences. They don't talk about this iron will.
Okay, so there's two things. One, I have a brother a year younger than me. He's actually 11 months younger than me. So there's 1 month out of the year where we were the same age. And to this day, it still tortures me that 1 month that my younger brother can phone me up and say, I'm the same age as you. How old are you, Todd? Right? And it's like, and I just got to stomach it. My other brother is a year older, but he a few years ago passed away just before his beloved Cubs won the World Series, which was a shame because you could have saw that. But so the three McFarlane boys, we were always doing something active, and even more importantly, we were always being competitive. Now, fast forward, and I become a pretty good athlete. I end up getting my university paid for on a baseball scholarship, played at a high level, Pac-10 baseball. And so there's just this competitive nature in me that is, and it permeates almost everything that I do. So it's not that I shouldn't be going to the bathroom or eating. It's that if they're going to go, I'm not. Right?
I love it.
Why? Because then it's like, in my brain, I got an edge, right? I've got an edge. It's silly, it's weird, and I wouldn't necessarily recommend that anybody actually clone themselves and be Todd, because it's a ridiculous life, and I can't escape them. But it's just pieces. I don't know. It's just I can't turn off. I can't turn off the competitive nature, and it used to be in high drive when I was in my 20s, 30s, right? I mean, we were all competitive. I don't have the same. I got to be, at the top of the comic book charts, whatever else I used to. To me now, the competitiveness is dealing with corporations and people I have license with, or I do business with, or I just come into contact with, who try and muscle you because they work for a big billion-dollar corporation, of which they had nothing to do with, other than they got employed 2 years ago.
Yeah.
That corporation's been standing and it will stand and survive without them. Or they're trying to negotiate something with you, and they're just being unfair. They're being greedy. They're being greedy people. Or the third one, which is sort of the bigger one, that they're going to tell every human being, not just me, no, you can't do that. You can't do it. Like, everybody that's in the lead, everybody that has a business that's doing well, everybody that is a market leader or whatever else will never, ever get out of your way and let you go and say, yeah, good on you, good on you. They will do everything they can to block you, stop you, not even want you to exist. Because why? They don't want competition. Why? Because if you don't have any competition, think of it as being in a race. If you're in a race and there's no competition, you're in a one-man race, one-woman race, you don't even have to work very hard. You're going to come in first. So they don't want somebody else in the race behind them, pushing them, because that means they're going to have to try hard, right? And every now and then, as good as they think they are, because they think they got all the answers, some little group of people are sitting in a garage, and they go, hey, my name's Steve Jobs, and I'm going to do this little funny little computer, and I'm going to give it a goofy little name. And it works because Steve Jobs, I know at his core, had some of the same DNA that I did, that every time they said no, it just drove them that much faster. So, and why? I don't know. Why? I literally think it's just when we come out of the womb, right? There's two kinds of dogs in the world. There's only two kinds of dogs in the world. I can put them in two buckets. Those that bite and those that don't. Now, if you've seen the dog that doesn't bite, the nice little golden retriever, you can have kids jumping on him, pulling his tail, will never bite, right? You can't train that dog to bite. Why? Because he's just nice by nature. And then you've got the biter, right? And as soon as that kid comes, like, get off me, kid. Like, you don't get to pull my tail today, right? You're just, so I think the Steve Jobs of the world and lots and lots and lots and lots of entrepreneurs, we're just biters. We're just biters. I tell my wife, she thinks it's she goes, it's sad, Todd, that I believe every day of my life, I'm at war. Every day of my life.
I love it, Todd. I love it. We started this channel revisiting old Wizard magazines from issue 1 going up to like issue 40 or something like that. And when Image Comics is first being talked about, and we have, the Image founding fathers, I think of like you, Jim Lee, Liefeld, all super successful at around the same position in terms of the impression you made on the culture of comics. But you were the one to take that extra entrepreneurial step to make a toy company. Like, they created studios and employed other guys in the comic space, but you created a toy company. And, doing comics for about a decade up to that point, can you even remember what some of the steps were to even begin the genesis of such an endeavor?
Yeah, but let's go back. Rob and Jim and Mark Silvestri starting their studio. I mean, again, those were big endeavors for them, because remember, we were all just freelance artists up to that point, right? So we all jumped into the thick of all of it. So I tip my hat to all of them. And here's the thing too. Let me just be clear. Not wanting to build like a semi-empire, if you will, is okay. Like, it's okay. I'm not saying it's good. I'm not even saying that anybody should copy it, right? What I endorse is that everybody should basically do what they see fit for themselves, right? Which is, again, the whole credo of Image Comics, that you're the creative person, you get to own it, you get to do whatever you want. And if you choose to then want to take your idea and see if you can make hats and toys and movies out of it, like, a couple of us have had the opportunity, fine. But if you say, no, I just want to do a comic book, I don't care about all that, fine. I think both of those are valid answers, because the person who has the ownership gets to make the final decision. So if we go back to, again, you know, me and the decisions I made for me, it was just, I knew I wanted to put 4 pillars out there, right? So after the comic books came, it was going to be movie, TV, video games, and toys. And I felt that if I had the foundation of the comic books and I could put those 4 pillars, 1, 2, 3, 4, you can build skyscrapers on strong foundations, right? I mean, take a look at any building that you've seen that's really high. There's only one block down at the bottom, and it's just got some strong foundations and pillars, and then they just build on top of it. So the movie came along pretty quick, and the TV with HBO and the video games, I got those done. And then the toy part came, and I never got a sense that whoever was knocking on my door going to make toys was going to change the way they were doing business, nor should they, right? Who am I? Todd the Punk got this silly little comic book called Spawn. Although at that point, the reason I wanted to make a toy because it was the #1 selling comic book in the nation. So, you know, get to the top of charts, the phone starts to ring on a regular basis. So I met with all of them, and then I just, and here's all I wanted. All I wanted out of the toys was, I think you need to make a non-traditional toy and sell in non-traditional places. That was it. And I could see by the conversations that was never going to happen, right? These are, you know, billion-dollar corporations that they're not really great at experimenting, right? What they're really good at is keeping what they have and making sure they don't lose it. So they were never gonna go, hey, we need to make a cool, you know, hyper detailed toy and put it in Hot Topics and put it in KB Toys at that time and Virgin Records and stuff like that. They were that's not how they were built. They were gonna basically take Spawn, they were gonna make it sort of the same they've made almost all their other previous action figures. They're gonna put it next to the same product in the same toy aisle, in the same 8 to 10 category, and that was it. And then I didn't think it was going to work, and they would hand it back to me because they say, "Oh, Todd, didn't work. Sorry about that. Sales weren't very good," and they give me basically damaged goods back. So before I let them do that, or at least I thought that's what would happen, I asked a simple question, and this is really the question anybody should ask that has any kind of entrepreneur spirit: what does it actually take to do that? Plastic goods. What does it take? And then once you find out, it's not that complicated. Then the only thing that really, the thing that really stops most people in their tracks, and maybe even some of the people who are listening to my voice right now, is not the idea, is not the ambition, it's not even the drive. It's the cash, right? Because you get to that point and you need money. And if you don't have the money, then you either have to have a rich uncle that you can borrow it from, or you have to let then other people come in who have the money. And once you let those people come in, then they have influence, which they should, because it's their money. They want to recoup their money. And I was lucky enough to be in a position where I could come up with the toy idea, design the toy idea, make the toy idea, and pay for the toy idea. Now, the biggest hurdle would be, could I get it on any shelf? And here's the lucky break. And I keep telling people when I sort of go and talk sometimes to business people, you can have the best idea you want. You can have all the ambition. You can even have the cash. At some point, you got to get dumb luck. Dumb luck has to come knocking on your door a couple times. And my dumb luck came like literally at the beginning. I was at my very first toy fair. I had no prototype. Nothing. Not like here. You can see that guy right there. Nothing. I had nothing like that. We did some drawings. And we put them in some packaging. That's all we had. Paper products. And we were in a 6 by 6 foot booth. Maybe it was 5 by 5. It was really small. And we were in one room that had about 40 of us that had these little 5'5" shape on one floor of one building that had 24 floors. And across the street, Hasbro and Mattel had their own building. They owned the whole entire building. We were on one building, one floor, one room, and we were 1/40th of it. And at that time, 1994, Toys R Us was, and this may seem hard to believe to people a little bit younger, Toys R Us was the biggest buyer of toys at that point. Soon to be crushed by Walmart. The shadow of Walmart was coming. And the buyer of Toys R Us opened the door, came in, and there was a hush, because I'm new to this. I don't know how this works. And there's a hush, and everybody stands up to attention in front of their 5'5", almost like, literally, it was almost like an army barracks. You've seen this in the movie, you know, when the sergeant walks in, everybody jumps in front of their bed. It was exactly the same thing. It was really bizarre. And then he'd walk, and as you can imagine, if he walks by you, then he's not buying your product. And I was actually around the corner, so I came around the corner to see, like, why did everybody stop talking? And they went, "Oh my God, it's a Toys R Us buyer," and that to them was like, this was Jesus himself coming down the aisle, right? And he's walking on water. He's coming. And so I was watching, and as he was, you know, coming down, then if he walked by you, then people would go, "Oh, dope, oh, dope, dope," and he'd just keep walking. And then he stopped. And he stopped in front of my booth, and he looked. And now let's figure this one out. Do I think for 1 second, do I know for 1 second that Toys R Us buyer, who was in big reverence because Toys R Us was a big buyer, cared one iota about Spawn? No. No. But somebody did. And that was his assistant that was standing right next to him. And the magical word, the dumb luck of my life, comes when the assistant says, "Hey boss, this is that guy I was telling you. This is the comic book that's at the top of the chart." So it was the 21-year-old assistant that was a hip and a geek, and he basically had convinced his boss that, like, dude, if you're going to be buying stuff, why wouldn't you buy figures from the top-selling comic book, which it was at that point? And he went, "Yeah, okay." And so he asked me only two questions, the buyer at Toys R Us, the older man. "Can you give it to me on this date?" "Yep." "I didn't know." "And can you get it to me at this price?" "Yep." "I didn't know." But when opportunity knocks, always say you can do it. Always say you can do it. Because then at least they'll give you a chance. And who the hell knows? Maybe you might surprise yourself. You actually might be able to do it. And we did. And so now, you know, quickly, think about it. All of a sudden, he said, "If you can give me that price on that day, I'm gonna go nationwide. I'm gonna go in every one of my stores." So what do you think my next meeting was? My next meeting was a week later. I walk into Walmart, who didn't care about Spawn, and I go, "Hey, you know, just to let you know, just coming circling back, you know, Toys R Us, the biggest toy buyer, has bought my product and is going store-wide." Now, Toys R Us, the Walmart buyer goes, "Oh my gosh, my competitor, I want to be bigger than, they're going store-wide. I must be missing something. I can't let them have the edge. All right, we'll buy it too, Todd." Right? Boom. And then he just, now the dominoes start falling. You go to Target and you say the same thing. You go to Kmart, start doing the same thing. And next thing you know, they're all buying it. And I'm out there on a national level with a drawing in a package because a 21-year-old geek happened to be a comic book dude, right? Woo! And if he was anything else but, I probably wouldn't have had a toy company last more than 3 months. So that's just the dumb luck you need sometimes.
Todd, as the toys take off, you tend, it seems like you shift business-wise, you know, with a lot of focus and attention on the toys. This is just a natural result of what you're seeing coming back, or?
In terms of what? The type of product we make?
No, in terms of, say, from drawing a comic, you know, it seems like you pull back on that side of it and maybe focus more on the toy company. Is that fair to say? And is that a result of?
I don't know. I've arguably, I'm going to break the record at some point for writing the most issues of a single character at some point. So I don't know. I don't know if that's slacking. You know, I've written almost 300 issues of Spawn, right? Chris Claremont can't even say that about X-Men, right? Snyder's not saying that about Batman, and Donny Cates isn't saying that about Venom. So I think the thing that's weird a little bit is that people will go, "Oh, Todd, we know you're the artist," so somehow they think if I'm not drawing the interior pages, I'm not doing comic books, right? Shoot, I've been involved in every one of my issues since 1992, so that's 28 years of being in comic books nonstop. Okay, it might not be at the level and the magnitude that people want. They'd like to see more art. I understand that. When John Byrne quit the X-Men, Frank Miller quit Daredevil, I wanted them to come back and do more work, but they decided to move on. So I think the better question is, how do you do 300 issues and still run a toy company, right? It's like they're just doing comic books. I'm running companies at the same time and doing it, right? So we just had issue 305 that we had to get done on Saturday morning, right? So we had to get up. I had to get up and help finish up the book. I was in here at 6:30 in the morning with a couple of good people here from the office, and we got the book out because the printer was waiting for it. Do I need to do that at my point in my life? Do I need to be getting up at 6:30 so I can bang out the 305th issue of a comic book? I don't. Actually, I don't. Right? I don't need the money. I don't need the prestige. My career is sort of built. One less issue, one more issue is not going to probably add or subtract to it. But I just trained myself to just do monthly comic books, and so it's easy for me to do it, right? And so what becomes a little bit difficult, or somebody goes, I don't like it. It's a lot of work. I mean, like I was talking to Robert Kirkman when he decided to quit Walking Dead. He won 193 issues. 193. That is an amazing task. It's an amazing task. But I remember I was sitting there saying, hey, come on, Robert, why don't you go to issue 200? Be cool. Ended on a big one, right? And he just said, nah, Todd, because he goes, I was thinking of quitting earlier, and I went longer than I thought. And then he goes, and for sure, forget 200. He goes, and Todd, 300, because, I was, a couple months away from 300. He's like, Todd, I can't even fathom doing another 100 issues of Walking Dead, right? That's almost another 8-10 years of my life, right? So 100 issues seems like 100, it depends on how you think about it, but it's 8 or 10 years of your life, every one of those 100 issue sort of chunks. And everybody doesn't need to stay on their book. As a matter of fact, I would argue that what I'm doing may be clinically insane. It doesn't make any sense. Like, who's the mook? I keep saying, who's the guy that is going to stand up at 20 and say, hey, I'm going to do 300 issue of a comic book. I'm going to go. That means you are now at 20 when you got nothing but time on your hand and energy, and you just want to go out and you want to go to parties and the girls and guys are all over you and you're having a good time. And you go, no, I'm going to just focus until I'm 47 years old, and then I'll worry about relaxing. And if your goal is to try and break my record, it's never going to happen, because by the time you get 27 years down the line, I'm going to have added 27 years, as long as I don't hit by a bus or die. And all of a sudden, you're going to spend 27 years and go, oh, shit, I got to go another 27, because Todd never stopped. And now you have to sit there and go, well, I got to go 27 plus 27. That's 54. So now you got to be a 20-year-old, and you have to say, man, at 20 years of age, I know what I want to do. I got to add 54. So I know exactly what I want to do with my life at 74. If you are that odd, you probably have a higher likelihood of becoming a serial killer. Let's play with odds at this point. Like, no sane 20-year-old is going to sit there and say, I'm going to devote 54 years of my life so I can take down Todd McFarlane. What they should be doing is saying, let the old crazy dude have that record. Let the old crazy man have his little status. Who cares? We're going to go over here and do some other cool stuff. And if you want to get a Guinness Book of World Record, because that's what they gave us for breaking it, there's far, far, far easier ways of getting it, right? And one of them can just be like breaking the most panes of glass in an hour, right? Just like, it's an hour, and if you can't do it, no big deal. You didn't get it. Why would you devote 54 hours trying to break my record? Because let's just say you're actually really good and you're really dedicated. And let's say you go 51 years. And then at 51 years, you happen to be crossing the street and somebody's not paying attention and they run you over and you're dead. You still fall 3 years short and you're second, and nobody's going to remember you, and you gave 51 years of your life. It's not a sane thing to do what I'm doing. So it's like, let's just talk about the same people who actually eat and go to the bathroom at the same time. dealing with like some weird alien here, and I don't know why, but I just am what I am. So.
Todd, I have a specific question about the Guinness Book of World Records, the world record that you have, and it has to do with the hustle aspect that we brought up earlier, because just going back talking about those old Wizard magazines, the very first interview is Todd McFarlane, the Spider-Man artist, and you were the Spider-Man cartoonist, and you were airing your grievances with Marvel. They're only interested in promoting issue 1 of their books. They're not promoting in places where people, if you're going to have a G.I. Joe comic, why don't you promote it in places where people in the military will see it? And then you get Image Comics, and you start making good on all those grievances. There are ads for Spawn 25 in Wizard magazine. Now, you beat Dave Sim, Cerebus cartoonist, man, who did 300 issues of Cerebus. And if he wanted to, he could have been sitting on a Guinness book. He could have been sitting on a Guinness World Record for about 20 years almost, man. But he didn't think to do that. But you did. You thought to. I don't know what's the process, man. You had to call them or something.
No. No. So, and I know Dave, right? I mean, Dave, to his word, actually was one of those crazy guys. He said, "I'm going to do 300 issues of Cerebus, and I'm going to quit." And true to his word, he actually did 300 issues and quit. So first, it's amazing. He went to the top of the mountain and did 300 issues. And then he just said, enough, I'm done. Okay, cool. It's not, I don't think, and Dave wasn't thinking in the same terms I was. He just wanted to do this comic book. Mm-hmm. I didn't even think, in all honesty, I didn't even think about the record until maybe 6 months before the book came out, right? Because here's why. Issue 301 for a long time. I knew I was going to pass Dave Sim and Cerebus, personally. 301 was a personal goal for me. I never really sort of said it to anybody. But as we got closer to 300, then I went, wow, there's an opportunity here, potentially, to turn what is just basically a personal thing. Can I basically make it public? Can I make this event public? And part of it was saying, I didn't want to say, hey, I'm doing issue 300, buy more, right? Everybody's done anniversary books. So what? So I'm one of 100 books. Big deal, right? One of the things I've striven for is to try and do something at least a little bit slightly different than everybody else. I mean, everybody had action figures, but it's like, can I make them a little bit different? Everybody had drawn Spider-Man before. Can I make them just a little bit different? Everybody had done sort of coloring in comic books when we started Image. Can we just make it a little bit different? And so that's all you need to do to have a big idea. And so for me, I wanted to go up on stage when I was talking about 300, and I wanted to give them a reason not just to buy 300. That was going to be easy. That's like opening up a movie. Everybody's going to go on opening weekend. I needed to give them something more than that. So it went like this. I go, I know it's going to happen. People are going to walk in going, it's Spawn 300, and I need a jumping on point, and it's too late, because they're always asking me, are you ever going to do a Spawn #1? Fuck no. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do a Spawn #1. If I do, it will be because there will be a second book. It won't be because I'm taking my book that's at 300 and ever stop that numbering. And if the only reason that anybody needs to buy this comic book is because there's a #1 up here, and I'm probably going to try it maybe this year, I'm actually going to have 2 numbers. I'm going to have number 303 in this corner, and I'm going to have #1 in this corner. Whichever one you need to look at, whichever number you need to look at to get you across the line, the character's the same, the art's the same, and the creative people inside are going to be exactly the same whether I renumber it or not. I don't get why a number on a cover in a corner is the reason you're going to buy a book or you're not going to buy a book. It seems not like a really good reason. And I've heard all the BS. Well, Todd, they need a jumping on point, and 300 seems daunting. It's BS. It's BS. Because if that was true, nobody ever would pick up another Beyonce song unless you've collected every one of her songs, even when she was in her group. And nobody would ever go to a Yankees game because they go, oh my God, I never saw Babe Ruth in 1922. I've never seen all the game. Like, it's ridiculous. Of course, we as human beings jump into the middle of things. We jump in the middle of music. We jump into the middle of TV shows. We jump in the middle of movies. We jump in the middle of Harry Potter stuff. Of course, we jump in the middle of stuff. What determines whether you're going to jump in or not is whether the quality of the product is worth jumping into. It's not a number. That's a sucker's play. And I can get my mom to do a book with the number 1, get a few sales, and then by issue 3, she's going to be out of the top 100. Who cares about some momentary flash in the pan? So here's what I wanted to do to the retailers. Here's how you sell it to them. Don't sell it to them as issue 300. You're one and done, out. Issue 296, 297 are essentially going to be a recap of the first 300 issues. So they don't even have to go back and buy it. They can buy 296, 297. They're caught up. They don't even have to spend a lot of money to get caught up. 2 issues. Then 298, 299 are going to be prequels leading into 300, and they're going to have some cool little parody covers just to sort of remind people I did Spider-Man. And then we get our big boy. And our big boy is going to be the 300. That's going to sell. That's a given. And then, oh, by the way, it's going to be a cliffhanger. And the cliffhanger is going to get followed up into 301. Why? Because 301 sets a world record. And now you've got 6 books that you could buy. And there's a reason why. If anybody's going to give Spawn a chance again, or if you got a new person out there, get those 6, and you're going to know within those 6 issues whether you want to continue buying it or not. One and done? I don't know. Everybody does that. Renumbering it to number 1? Everybody does that. Why do I want to start with Spawn number 1 and be up against 12 other number 1s? Let them do it. What they can't do is put a 300 plus on their book. I never understood. There was a time when both Marvel and DC renumbered every one of their books. Every one of their books, and they let Spawn be the highest numbered book. Now, they were saying, oh, you know, people, the number's undaunting. Can you imagine? Can you imagine letting me walk into any room and say, excuse me, I do this book called Spawn, and it is the highest numbered comic book in comic books right now. Why would you give that to me when I started in 1992 and you started your Superman in 1936 and you started your Fantastic Four in 1961? Why would you basically say, I started a race 50, 70 years ahead of Todd, and I'm going to let him walk in a room and say he's got the highest number? Wow. Wow. That's anti-marketing to me. That's anti-marketing. So I'll take it. I'll take it. The reason I go, if you guys want to start all your books and you're going to let me look like I'm the longest running book in comic books, God bless you. Because here's what I did when I bought comic books that had a big number. I had this mentality, and I go, man, if that Detective Comics is up to 475, I didn't say I'm not buying it because it's not good. I actually said the opposite. I go, if this is up to 475, this comic and this character has weathered decades and decades and decades. That means it must be okay that it's weathered all that time and it survived all that time. I'm going to give this book a chance. And to me, those were the Fortune 500, you know, stocks that I go, of course you're going to buy Superman and Batman and Spider-Man, Fantastic Four. Those are the blue chippers, right? So I'm just trying to make Spawn a blue chip, and they're making it easy for me at times. Like, look, let me just tell you, we got the numbers for the calendar year of 2019. Spawn 300 was the second biggest selling comic book of the entire year.
Hot damn. That's awesome, man.
I only got beat by Detective 1000. Heck of a book. Okay, cool. No, that was it. And then if you went down the list, I'm going to give you the top 11. I wish it was top 10, but I'm going to stretch it one more. Top 11. At 11 was Spawn 301. For the entire year, it was the 11th best-selling book. So of the 11 books, there was only one title that had 2 of their books in the top 11. Spawn. There wasn't even in the top 11, there wasn't even one Spider-Man. There wasn't one Iron Man. There wasn't one Captain America. There wasn't one Thor, right? They're like all these characters that people think they didn't even have one book in the top 11. And the first one is Spawn. Come on. So I'm not saying that because I'm saying he's better than those characters. I'm not saying any of that. What I'm saying out loud is by grinding and doing what I've done for 20, 30 years, he's sitting in a place. So now when I go into Hollywood and I'm asking them for the money to make it, they get to see the charts and they go, oh my gosh, you're right. We now have the Joker movie coming out making $1 billion. We need dark characters that can be R-rated. Who are they? And if you look at the top 100, 95, 96 of the top 100 are Marvel and DC. You can't even touch those unless you're Warner Brothers or Disney because they own those. So if you're Universal, Sony, or Paramount, or Lionsgate, Fox, you can't even touch them. So you have to basically now go, well, what's left? There's 4 titles that are now left because the 96 of them are Marvel or DC. One's called Walking Dead, it's gone. One's called Buffy the Vampire Slayer, it's gone. One's called Teenage Ninja Mutant Turtles. And even if you could get them, they're not R-rated. Walking Dead is, but it's gone. And there's only one title in 100. In 100, there's one title. And it was sitting a couple months ago at number 1. And that's why Hollywood, you need to make this. Because the next available one that's an R-rated movie is at number 122. So you can either get one or you can get 122. I'll let you spend your money the way you see fit. And you're waking up to this. And so being in charts and being successful is not there for me, has never been there so that I can be rich and famous, right? What do I give a shit? It's there because when you walk into a room and you want somebody else to spend their money doing something for you, then you have to show that you have success. You can never walk into a room and ask somebody to spend millions of their dollars if the last 3 things you did failed. They're never going to spend their money. You have to show them success. And so if you're successful, the byproduct at times is money and fame. And so those are byproducts. Those are byproducts of it. And so you go, okay, cool. And then they'll do something else. And then you get more money and fame. And it's just a long way of me doing art. And if I want to continue doing art till the day I die, then at some point I've either got to do it myself and spend my own money and do like I did with my toy company, or I have to have enough success so when I ask for somebody else's money, like in Hollywood, and I want you to spend 20, 25 million on a movie, that they feel that they're going to get their money back. And how do they do that? There has to be something on my resume or my character resume or something that will get them past it. All the above, all the above. And so there's the hustle. And the hustle's been going for 30 plus years, and I don't see it stopping anytime soon.
Todd, I'm curious about some of your thoughts on the direct market in the comic book industry. You know, you mentioned that you think it was kind of a dumb move for Marvel and DC to allow you to have the highest numbered comic book. You mentioned in the top 10 or top 11 comics, there's no Spider-Man or Iron Man or Thor. And I wonder just, you know, with your experience in comics and your role at Image Comics, what do you see coming up in the direct market? I wonder if you see improvements there or things that we can, I don't know, changes try to enact, or if you're happy with the way the direct market is performing these days.
So I think there's a couple things. Let's talk about a couple of them. I think comic books, which are its own unique language, which is basically words and pictures, right? Words and pictures, right? Novels are words, TV is pictures and language. But it's like the combo of having to read and look at pictures is sort of unique to comics and comic strips, stuff like that. So that medium's never going away. The bigger question is, well, what's going to be the delivery mechanism? Right now, the delivery mechanism for our industry is comic book. I think, I mean, you guys know, all comic stores, just like all artists and all comic book characters, are not created equal. And I've been around long enough now to have been in the heyday when the Image first came out, and there was, 10 to 12,000 stores. And then, we somehow made 8 or 12, 8 to 9,000 of those disappear. So 70, 80% of the stores go away, 70%, 80% of your sales go away. Like Don't ask me. Go look at the sales of Spider-Man and Captain America and Batman and Superman. All of us shrunk when the store count shrunk. So there are two kinds of stores I've walked into. There are the stores that I think are more what I would call pop culture stores, right? And I've always said, if I ran a store, and I have, in the back, that you put pop culture in the front window and you put your comic books in the back, right? Why? Because we're geeks, we're comic book people, we're addicted. Oh my God, the new books come out on Wednesday. Oh my gosh, I got to go into the store. Got to go in the store. It's Wednesday. I got to go get my new book, my new book, my new book. You know, it doesn't matter when you're addicted. It doesn't matter where they shove your comic books. You will go and find them. What you need in the front of the store are the things that will get casual people into the store that you might be able to eventually turn into addicts, right? So when Harry Potter is popular, that should be in the window. And when the Avengers movies are in the window, it shouldn't be the Avengers comic book per se. It should be Avengers stuff. And then get them to go back a little bit deeper to get to the comic book. Or if not, you know, if they're doing a new Simpsons movie or there's some TV show that's super hot, the Game of Thrones or whatever, all of that should be in the front of the stores, because you can get then, if you've got pop culture in the front of the stores, and I think that even includes TV shows and cute little stuff and Hello Kitty and all that other kind of stuff, you can get a grandma and her 5-year-old daughter to walk in. Now, why do you want a grandma and a 5-year-old daughter? Because you can get a grandma and a 5-year-old daughter. Those are at the different spectrums of the age. And historically, superhero comic books usually appeal mostly to a male audience, although we're getting a lot more diversity, which is awesome. But that means you can get anybody into your store if you can get those people to walk in. And then once they're in, you have a chance to basically convert them or at least sell them on something. The other stores that I've gone into, I would equate with bad tattoo parlors. They got bars on the window. They put a bunch of posters in the window. You can't even hardly see. It seems like it's dark all the time. And they're basically out of the way. They're out of their, so they're like, and that same grandma and her little 5-year-old daughter almost like go 5 feet out of their way to make sure they don't get close to that store because it looks scary and intimidating. I don't know. You're in the consumer coming to into my store business, right? It should be as alluring to the average person as possible, given that we all have a little bit of geek. All you got to do is go to San Diego, New York Comic Con. You can see there's a lot of geek. It's not all based on comic books. Get them into the store any way you can. And so what? So what if half your store, the money you make is now because they're all buying posters or anime or toys instead of comic books? Who cares? You're in the geek business. You're not necessarily in the direct comic book business, but I think there's a little bit of a fallback that will end up coming. Let's just be realistic. I'm not a believer in the fact, because the data says so I'll just take the data, that because you make a $2-3 billion Avengers movie, that people are going to walk out and say, you know what I need in my life? I'm 27. I've never collected comic books. I've never gone to a comic book store. You know what I need right now that I watch this movie? I'm going to Google what's the closest comic book store. I'm going to go start collecting Avengers. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. Because if it was true, the Avengers comic books would be selling more than 100,000 copies. Last month, the #1 selling comic book was 117,000 copies. If 117,000 people went to a movie and spent their $10, it would barely be over $1 million. $1 million. They're making $3 billion. If everybody who bought the top selling book last month went to whatever comic book movie was out and paid their $10, matter of fact, bring a date so we can double it, it would be $2 million. They're making billions of dollars, which basically means people can go to movies, walk out, and not feel inclined that they need to buy a comic book. They may buy a t-shirt with a cool logo on it, may even buy the odd action figure, but it doesn't mean that you're going to necessarily buy comic books. Now, let's look at what that means if you're Marvel or DC. So Marvel and DC, what do they do? I know what we're going to do. And I have these conversations with them. You can imagine, right? Like, I'm like, give me your BS, because I want to hear it. You should be doing #1. You should be doing an event book. You should be doing this because we did this and this sold and we did this and you know, our book wasn't going good and we renumbered it and then we got a big pop. What you did was if this is a scale going down, right, like a stock's going down, what you're doing is going down, pop, down, pop, down, pop, down, pop. I don't give a crap about your pop. Let me ask you a simple question, smart business people who run your billion-dollar companies. Are you selling more comic books today than you were 15 years ago? And before you answer it, I'm the president of the third largest company. I know what the answer is. No, 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 you're not. So you can tell me all you want, so you're blue in the face, how you got this and this and this big event and this and this and this. You're selling less comic books today than you were over a decade ago. So it's not working. Whatever you think is working is not working. When you sell less, that doesn't mean it's better. It's actually worse. But you're blinded because you get a couple pops, right? Well, Spawn went to #1, so I guess I'm smarter than all you guys too. No, it just means I had a moment that worked. The bigger deals, whether the comic books go in there. So I don't know. And then even the people who own the stores, I've been in the stores where they're very helpful to the consumer, and they basically say, hey, you want to go buy G.I. Joe? Fine, let me take you over to the G.I. Joe section. And then I've been in a different store, same scenario. Oh, you like G.I. Joe? G.I. Joe's not a very good comic book. I don't know why you're reading that comic book. Let me show you something else over here. Why would you ever talk anybody out of purchasing and giving you cash? You got a store because you're a capitalist to some extent. Your job is to get money from customers so you can stay in business. Why, if somebody wants to come in and say they want to buy, and I think a lot of comic book owners should basically go to the women's apparel section and hang out there for a couple of days, because you will never, ever, ever, ever hear anybody who's selling women's apparel ever tell any woman that dress she just put on, she looks fat and ugly and purple doesn't look good. They will say, looks good. They're trying to make the sale. They're trying to make the sale. And even if purple is a bad color for that person, if that person thinks it's good for them, let them have it. So it doesn't matter what title they like. It doesn't matter what they want. Can you make recommendations for other stuff? Of course you can. Of course you can. But you shouldn't begrudge somebody whose reason for coming into your store is because they like, item or brand or character A, B, and C. Give it to them. Give it to them in droves. And matter of fact, say, oh, by the way, that character crossed over with these other characters. Let me find you some more. That's how you run a store, because that's being a businessman. The other way is basically just being a fan, right? You can't run a store long-term being a fan.
Todd, you mentioned, president of Image Comics. What exactly does that role entail? Like, what are your responsibilities? How much of that is part of your week or month or however that's set up? I'm just curious what that.
Yeah, it's not a daily thing. It's more of I consider myself. I mean, although we do have specifics that we just literally a couple of weeks ago I had our Image Partners meeting and had to discuss some business things that help. It's more of setting what we want to be the contracts and what we're offering anybody, right? So we back up, because again we're 28 years into this thing now. If we back up, we created a system for all the original partners, and at that original partners meeting, hang on a sec. At that original partners meeting right here, don't look at this.
Yeah, we're going to put our own picture up over Hank Canals.
Yeah, there we go. So this is our very first meeting. Our first official, we consider, if you saw Jim Valentino's Instagram, he actually posted this picture and then a couple other leading up to a couple weeks ago. So he spanned almost 28 years literally in picture. So it's pretty cool. I should probably repost it. But this was our first meeting. And what we did at that first meeting was, besides, we had more hair. Look at that guy. And look at that denim. And I had denim pants, so it was a bad faux pas.
Hey, Todd, Rob said that you guys did those VHS tapes with Stan Lee. And then, like, from there, those Comics Greats videos. Yeah. He said, like, from there, like, you guys finished at the studio and just went over to Silvestri's house. Is that true?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
Again, look at. None of us knew what was happening. None of us could see into the future. All we were concerned about was what we wanted to do for ourselves, right? So at that meeting, we set up a system that would be good for ourselves, that we would have this publishing house called Image, but each one of us would own our own product. And then we would then publish it through the sort of the commune, if you will, right? We all had our own houses, but we would publish through the commune. And then we basically set up and say, hey, if that deal is good enough for us, why shouldn't we give that deal to everybody? So anybody that really comes into the front door, essentially, minus a couple things, has the exact same deal I have. I'm like, you do a comic book for us, you're going to get 98% of what I get, which is that the creative people should be in control of their own creation, and that ownership should be 100%, and that 100% should let you decide, good, bad, or indifferent, what you want to do at any given time with that creation. And I've seen plenty of bad decision making by plenty of creators. So it's not like everybody has made great decisions. But what is positive about that is that the creative people themselves were the ones that were able to make the decision, even at times when it was bad decisions. I wouldn't have made the same decision. So, okay, cool. That's what we're at. So what it is I think I have a responsibility, this is just me speaking, that me standing up on a stage 27 years later, saying that I'm about to set a world's record, that I just stand up there as an example of a possibility. That's all I am. Robert Kirkman is also a possibility. Brian K. Vaughan, another possibility, right? So pick whoever you want. There are these possibilities, but you're never going to become one of us if you never do the book to start with. It's never, ever going to happen. With 100% certainty, there are some things that are like 100%, and I'm here to give you one of the 100%. If you never do a comic book on your own, you will never have the opportunity to exploit that in a way like some of those people I just mentioned. Because you don't even have the first piece of the equation. It doesn't even exist. I don't know. It's weird. So I go up on stage now and I used to give this rally speech, which is like, you should be doing comic books. And now I've actually broken it into two spots. I got my first half an hour is, I'm going to talk to you as Todd the Dad, and I'm going to tell you why you should do your own comic book. And it's very compelling because, as I mentioned earlier, Marvel and DC own the top 100, so you don't even have to be in the top 100. As a matter of fact, if you're in the top 200, you're probably a top 5 or 6 book, a top 5 or top 6 book to billion-dollar corporations outside of comic books.
You're talking about film possibilities and licensing?
TVs, whatever else, like all of it, all the above, right? Somebody's got $1 billion in their pocket, and they say, and they make product X, and they say, go get it. They're going to look at the top 100, and they're going to go, other than Spawn, I can't get it. So then they're going to have to go to the 101 to 200, and they're still going to have to X out all the Marvel DC because Warner Brothers already got their deals with all those categories, and Marvel's already got all those deals, which are owned by Warner Brothers and Disney. So those are off the table. So even at 157, you're probably like number 3 to $1 billion corporation. And I keep saying, surely, when I'm talking to people, 1,000 people, 2,000 people, and when I'm doing a panel, surely there's 1 or 2 of you that have the confidence, not like me, because I'm crazy, but you can get up in the morning and you can put your feet on the ground, you can make sure there's air in your lungs because it's going to be a good day because you're alive, and then you're going to say to yourself, and you go, I'm not going to be number 1. I'm going to go down and tell my dad, I don't want to be number 1. I'm not going to be number 87. I'm going to be 155. 155. Dad, Mom, come, circle up. I know what I'm going to do with my life. I'm going to be 155. And they're going to look at you like you're a crazy person. But 155 may get you a top 3 with billion-dollar corporations. Surely there's somebody, when I'm giving this speech, that you have the confidence to be 155, for God's sake. Surely there's somebody. Now, the second half of the equation is the other half. The other half is now me being not Dad Todd. I'm going to now be corporate Todd. And I'm going to be corporate Todd. And now that I've talked to you for half an hour, telling you all the reasons why you should do it, every one of you that sat there and came up with an excuse as to why you can't. I'll never be. Todd started in the 1920s. Or 19 whatever. Robert Kirkman, oh yeah, but that was a different time, and things are different, and the world's different, and different. On this side, let me just tell you, if you're making up excuses to why you shouldn't do it, I'm going to encourage you never, ever do it. Never. Because if you never do it, I don't have to get better. Because I already got the gig. I'm going good. I'm doing good. I already got the Spawn 300 #1. Woo! I already got the world's record. Woo! Why would I want anybody to beat that? Why would I want anybody to give me any competition? Why would I want Hollywood to spend their money on your comic book movie, not my comic book movie? Shit. Do me the favor. Don't do your comic book and make it easy on me.
Hey, Todd, can I ask this question real quick?
To end that, you got two choices. You can either listen to this Todd, who doesn't want the competition, who's going to talk to you like corporations and say, don't do it. You can't do it. Come up with excuses. Or you can listen to the dad. And the dad one is, you will never know how good you are until you try. That's it. Those are your two choices in life. Pick it. Pick one. Pick one. I don't understand. If you won't advocate for yourself, nobody else on the planet will. Nobody wakes up. Nobody woke up on this planet today. My mom, my dad, my wife, none of them woke up today and said, how can I make this the best day for Todd? There's only one human being that woke up saying, I'm going to make this the best day I can for Todd McFarlane. You're staring at him, right? So if you're going to come up with excuses as to why you personally, people in the stands or fans I'm talking to, can't do what I'm talking about, then nobody else will. And it will never, ever happen. It's 100% failure rate. But go ahead. Well, I'm just crazy enough to think I can do everything.
Yes, we're going to get real right now, man. As a student, I want to learn. If I want to learn about finances, I want to talk to Warren Buffett. And if I want some success in the comic book game, I'm trying to talk to the #1 guy. So I have Todd McFarlane's ear right at this moment. This is the kind of conversation we would have if we had dinner at San Diego Comic-Con, man.
We wouldn't have talk comic books. I'm part of my speech is I'm just talking about life. I'm not talking about comic books. I give you the comic book, but I'm talking about life too.
Yeah,
right?
No doubt.
To tell you that I don't care what idea you have, they're going to try and stop you from doing it.
No doubt.
They're going to tell you can't. They're going to say these words to you. Don't rock the boat. Why don't you try to get along? Why do you got to be such a pistol? Why are you being a rebel? All those words. Let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, there is no change that has ever come from a human being who wanted to make everybody in their life happy.
Yeah, no doubt, man. Darwin Cook, rest in peace. He told me you could either make good work or you could please your editors, man. You can't do both. But here's the question, Todd. We are comic book makers here, and a lot of the people in the audience, man, they're comic book makers themselves. They have no trouble making the physical book, but we're looking to you for some advice, man. How in this landscape of today, how would you what kind of moves would you encourage a young creator to make to get into that 150th spot or whatever?
Oh shit, this one's easy for me. Move #1, do a body of work. Done. I think that's 51% of it. 51% of it. So if you have to pick a book, you have to do 10, 12, 15, 20 issues of it. In the old days, it used to be 50 issues. But, okay, go ahead. Do a body of work, 20, 30 issues, that people can say, wow, you're that Swamp Thing guy. You're that Mr. Miracle guy. You're that Iron Man guy. I'm the Spider-Man guy. Oh, you're the X-Men guy. It doesn't even have to be a top book. It can be any book. I don't care what the book is. But you want to be the guy, the gal, who people go, oh, you're that artist. Oh, you're that writer. Oh my God, that's cool. That's cool. And once you get that, you can start springboarding from it. If you think you're going to do 4 issues on an event story or the biggest thing from Marvel or DC, and you're going to be in and out in 3 issues and 4 issues, and people are going to give a damn 5 years from now, that's a fool's game. If you think you're going to go to a convention and make a ton of money, which you will, but not do a body of work, you will just be selling your drawings at market price.
Short money.
Here's the difference between somebody who doesn't do that and me. I'm going to sit next to the exact same artist who's just bouncing around from book to book, doesn't want to do a monthly comic book. And let me tell you right now, before I advocate for a monthly comic book, it will be the hardest thing that you do in your life or for your career. Monthly. It will be the hardest thing you do. And the thing you're going to have to ask is, do I want to put in the hard work? I teach baseball at a high level, and there's 3 things I can't teach a human being to do. Can't teach them to run faster. I can get them a little bit better, but I can't get them to get Usain Bolt fast. Can't teach them to throw harder, because everybody be throwing 200 miles an hour. And I can't teach anybody to give a damn. I can't put that in you. Nobody can put that in you. You either care about your life and want to fight for your life, or you don't. So, if you don't want to put in the hard work to do the monthly books, fine, I get it. Why? Because you can go to conventions right now and you can make 3, 4, 5 grand. But you're going to always be at the fair marketplace. But here's what you're not paying attention to. You're going to get old one day. And if you get old, you're probably not going to want to put in the manual labor that you're putting in right now, because you're young, you're 20, you're 30, you're maybe early 40. Someday you're going to get older than that. I can sit next to you. You do a Spider-Man head, charge $50. I do a Spider-Man head, I'll charge $500. And I'm going to have a longer line than you. I get to do 1 drawing for every 10 that you do, and I'm going to make the exact same money as you. You got to work 10 times harder than me. Why? Because when I was in my 20s and 30s, I put in the hard work. So you can either be the pig that builds the straw house, the wood house, or the brick house. I built the brick house. When I was young, when everybody else was at the parties and the clubs having a good time, I was building that house because I knew at some point that I probably was going to get old. Why? Because I had parents and I saw old people walking across the streets, and I just saw that was going to be my future, getting old. And I didn't want to be in a position to having to do manual labor for the rest of my life. The best money you can make is what I call mailbox money. Mailbox money is when you do nothing and they give you money. And you go to the mailbox and you open it up and you go, oh my God, they're giving me money. so they reprint your artwork. They make a movie and they give it to you. They're doing something, and it's just royalties come in. Ching, 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 ching. And you get it. Musicians know what that is. Actors know what that is. And you can be 70, 75 years, 25, 30 years from it, right? What are you talking about? I still get checks because Marvel's reprinting or did something with my Spider-Man stuff. I didn't do anything. They give me cash. And if I'd gone to a convention instead and done sketches, I wouldn't be getting that cash. And that thing comes in on a regular basis. It's going to be coming in on a regular basis probably for another 30, 40 years. It's going to add up to more than I would have got for doing sketches. So, so do the work. Do the work. Oh, by the way, when you go to the weekend convention, they're going to pay you more money anyway. But if it was me, I'd pace myself. I would do the work. Let me give you my prayer. And I'm an atheist, so this is a weird prayer, but you can still say it. If you want to basically have the career that some of us have had, it goes like this, and this is how you do a monthly book. As hard as a monthly book is, this is how it goes. Monday through Friday, a page a day. Take the weekend off. Monday through Friday, do a page a day. Take the weekend off. Monday through Friday, do 1 page a day. Take the weekend off. Look at the calendar. 4 weeks. Monday through Friday. That's 5, 10, 15, 20. Comic books are 20 pages. Monday through Friday, do a page a day. Take the weekends off. There's only one exception. You have to spend one of your weekend days to do the cover. That's it. That's how you do a monthly. 1 page a day, and then quit. I've had pages where I do a page and I do it in 3 hours and I quit. And I have other days where that page takes a lot longer and it takes me 15 hours to get it done, and then I quit. But like a dog on a bone, I don't quit till I've got my page. And then tomorrow, I do another page. and then you get it done. So nobody that I've ever met is a slow artist. There's no such thing as a slow artist. Never met that artist. What there are people who are not at their desk drawing. There's plenty of those, right? So why? And then here's what I'm saying. When I say take the weekend off, don't go to convention. Don't go to convention. Why? Because you're going to go to convention, you're going to get tired, you're going to make a couple extra $1,000, but you're going to be burnt out. Then you're going to start missing your deadlines because you're going to get back and you're going to go, oh my God, I'm exhausted. Now I got to start doing a page a day, listen to Todd's prayer, and I'm going to get behind. And then if you get behind, you're going to get a bad reputation. You're not a monthly guy, monthly gal. They're going to not give you the monthly books. You're not going to be trusted, and then you're not going to get the big book. And it's just, you're going to start shooting yourself in your own foot over and over and over. Just go. Here's the fact of the matter, that there are people who live in North Dakota that I will personally never, ever meet, who are fans of my work. I appreciate them being fans of my work. They live in North Dakota. There's no big convention there. I'm never going there. They're never going to go to New York Comic Con or San Diego Comic Con. And yet, I can give them product they can still bring into their house, and they can basically support me by going and getting that product. And we don't have to basically see the whites of each other's eyes, right? A convention gets you a couple thousand people. If I want to touch a couple thousand people, I can go on my Instagram and I can get 300,000 by one post. Bam, 300,000 people, right? If you're talking about efficiency. So when you're young, I get it. If you're young and you're 22, 23, let me just say, if somebody had come up to the 23-year-old Todd McFarlane and said, hey, Todd, you can either do this monthly book and make $3,000 a month, or you can go to the convention to do sketch covers and maybe be a cover artist and make $4,000 a month, and you put in less work and make more money. Of course I would have taken it. Todd McFarlane himself would have taken that deal. But I'm telling you now, with 30 years of hindsight, it's a short-term deal. You're never going to get $500 for your Spider-Man head. So, booyah. So hustle.
Hustle, man. That's the theme of the show. That's the theme of the conversation. What you got, Jim?
What you got, Gene? Come on, Gene.
So, Todd, you've described a lot of stuff that you do. What is your week? Do you have like a weekly schedule? How do you organize your time?
Well, now fast forward. I mean, I'm lucky enough that I got company, so I've got people I employ to make sure that everything sort of runs. And so even that means coming in, going, Todd, like today, once I get off this, I gotta do a cover. So you guys are actually biting into my cover time. So I've got people constantly reminding me, because when you're on your own, you have to be your own advocate to say, I've got to get this done. I got to get this done. But, I did it when, I just sat in a room by myself for a long time when I was working at Marvel in DC, even the beginning of Spawn. And it was just me just doing it, knowing that I had to get my pages done, send off 5 in FedEx. And today you don't even got to go to FedEx. You just hit download and you can give it as a digital file. So that's it. Here's the thing that's interesting, because Robert Kirkman, if you follow Robert Kirkman, when he goes on an airplane, I've been with him before. He types a lot and he gets his scripts done, right? And again, these are the times that I would love to be taking pictures of ourselves, to just say, we don't have to be doing this. On Saturday, I didn't have to be in here at 6:30. When I'm on an airplane, I'm in my hotel room. I don't have to be inking, and I could be doing something else where everybody's out at the gathering, the party at San Diego Con. I'm inking pages or doing something. And would the other thing be fun? Yeah, sure it would. But I have an obligation to the fans and to my schedules that I need to get it done. So I'm fortunate enough that I've got people that help me with it. I mean, obviously making toys. I don't sculpt all my toys. So you just find good talent. Now I'm just, at times, like an editor or a coach. I just find talent and try to hone it and hope that a couple of them turn into stars, right? I mean, I never knew, as good an eye as I think I have, I never knew that Greg Capullo was going to be as staggeringly good as he is. When I picked him to come on Spawn, I knew he was going to be good. I planned on him being really good because I could see it. I didn't think he was going to be amazing, right? So at some point, that just sort of comes in there. And Greg Capullo, I would say today, stands as the biggest glowing example of, because he's my age, why are you letting 50-year-old men show you how it's done? Like, have a little respect for yourselves. Like, shit, the 23-year-old Todd, the competitive 23-year-old Todd, you told me that the guy got to knock off the purchase in his 50s? Are you out of your mind? Like, it would have been like, oh my God, this is going to be like taking candy from a baby. Like, go, right? Go, right? We were going after George Perez and John Byrne. They were only 10 years old enough. Shoot, 50-year-old. Are you kidding me? So I keep sort of saying, I don't think that the Jim Lees and the Greg Capullos and the Todd McFarlane's of the world should be nearly as relevant as we are at this advanced age. There should have been another generation that came up and became the new hip generation that basically made us sort of footnotes in the legacy of comic books. We shouldn't be relevant as much as we are. I sure shouldn't be. What are you talking about? So it's like, that either means I'm really good, which I'm not, or the people that are a little bit younger just aren't doing the hustle, man. So I go, shoot, you're gonna make me still get the job? You're gonna let me still take the job from you? Come on. 26, no way. Don't let the old guys do it.
Hey Todd, we really appreciate your time. We don't want to cut in too deep into the cover drawing time, man. We got to see what that cover looks like pretty soon.
Okay. It's gonna be cool. I'm gonna give you a teaser.
Yeah, let's do it.
Two characters that I've drawn in the past that I've never put on the same page before. So,
how about that, audience, man? He just tickled you behind with a feather.
Yeah. It'd be a cover for the Overstreet Price Guide. So when you see it, you'll go, "What? That was he who was drawn that day."
Nice, nice. Hey Todd, man, you want to give the audience some plugs, man, and we'll get out of here.
Oh, you mean for my stuff?
Yeah, what's coming out?
Comic book comes every month, so every one's just another record. So I just gonna keep pushing it.
It's like Cal Ripken.
We got right. They didn't go way past it. We got the toys still come out. New York Toy Fair is in 2 weeks, so we're going to be showing not only the stuff that we're doing. I mean, we just came out with our DC Multiverse stuff and the Fortnite, but we're gonna introduce some sort of cool retro McFarlane stuff at the show and just build a whole new program out from that. And then, fingers crossed, I went and had a meeting with another person from Hollywood that it was the Academy Award nominated to jump on to the group of people for the movie. And we're supposed to hear their yes or no this week.
Oh, who did you say that was again?
No, I didn't. But if I believe, because I know all the pieces that are now spinning, that if this person jumps on board, then I think that it all just tumbles, and we're in production by the end of this year. So we're waiting at the end of this week, hopefully, to get a big answer. And if not, I'll go hook another fish. Here's what is happening with the movie: Joker making $1 billion, setting literally a world's record for R-rated movie by 33%, broke the record by 33%. It's got Hollywood chasing, like I said, dark R-rated comic book stuff, and Spawn is at the top of the charts right now. So they're phoning. I'm like, the last 3 months have been way different conversation than I had the prior 2 years. Even though I got Jamie Foxx and Jeremy Renner on board and Jason Blum, we were still begging a little bit, right? The conversations are now they're asking for it, right? Which is way better position to be in when you got people sort of saying, how do we spend our money on your product? So anyways, I'm just tenacious enough to get all of that to happen too. And then we'll have a conversation and you'll be going, Todd, how did you become a first-time director at the age of 59, 60? What are you doing? Like, you got to give us that one. Just part of what we've been talking about for the last little while. One leads to another, that leads to another, and it just all eventually gets you into these weird bizarre thing. Look, I've got a Grammy Award. I can't even read music. I've got a Grammy Award. Don't even read music. Why? Because I eventually did a comic book called Spawn. We did HBO called Spawn. Eddie Vedder from Pearl Jam saw the HBO, says, can you make a video? We make a video, animate it. It gets nominated for a Grammy. We lose to Madonna. Darn it. But somebody else saw that video that I did, and then they said, let's do another one, and we do the one for Korn, Freak on a Leash. It's half live action, half animated. That gets nominated for a Grammy again, and that one wins. So you can not even know music, which I don't, and have a Grammy Award. So, okay, this is just how things can happen, but if you never start the race, it will never give you these possibilities. So who knows? I never knew I was going to have a Grammy or make a toy, right? Here we are. So and hopefully I'll be directing that feature film. Who knows? And then they'll want me to do more. Okay, never knew that one either. Just stuff, opportunity just keeps knocking if you give yourself a way for people to find you and access you and make them care about you. So advocate.
Good energy, man. Excellent food for thought. Inspirational conversation. Thanks for your time, Todd.
All right, you guys be good and take over the world. Because here's what I'm going to leave you with one more thing, if you got the time.
Oh, definitely.
Okay.
Always time for you, Todd.
Okay. I love the youth, right? I'm at that point now where I'm so old that everybody around me, like, oh, those young kids, those lazy millennials, this, you. I'm like, every one of us at some point in our life was the lazy generation, right? We listened to rock and roll. Oh my gosh, our parents, oh my gosh, we had long hair, right? The hippie generation, oh my gosh, you guys disco, oh my gosh, you guys are crazy. Every generation is always the lazy, the dumb ones. They don't know as much of us. Here's what I'm going to tell you. Here's what I hope for the youth of the world. I hope they make each one of us old folks look like dumb shits. And here's why I say that. Because A, we still have poverty and inequality, and people are going to go to bed hungry today globally, and we still have wars. Us old folks, we didn't figure out anything, right? Some of it, but we didn't figure it out. It's still a broken planet we're handing to you. I hope you fix it and you make us look good. And if anybody ever complains to you about being lazy or not being the generation you don't know, let me give you my Todd theory of when this started. I believe it started at the dawn of man, right? And so let's just go back to the dawn of man. And you had cavemen. And cavemen had to feed his family. And so he goes, honey, stay here. I'm going to go and kill that saber-toothed tiger, and I'll be back with the food. He goes out, long hunt, wrestles it, fights it, beats it, kills it finally, brings home the food, feeds his family. A few years later, he's at the campfire, and he starts talking about the new generation, how lazy they are. These new cavemen, you know what they do? They killed the saber-tooth with a rock. They need a rock. In my day, I did it with my bare hands. They need a rock, babies. They don't even know. And then the rock guy goes and kills and supplies for his family. And then he gets older, and he's around the campfire. And he goes, you know what these lazy sons of bitches cavemen do? They got themselves a little dagger. And now they only got to stab them 4 times. I used to have to hit them with a rock 50 times. Look at the scars I've got. And then the guy with the dagger gets old. And he goes, you know what these lazy cavemen are doing now? They're taking the dagger and they're putting on a stick. And they're calling it a spear. And they're stabbing it with the spear. They don't even got to touch it. Look at the scars I've got. At least I have to stab it 3 times. And on and on and on. Every generation, because of an efficiency, because of technology, because of something that made us a little bit better so we didn't have to get as many scars, always makes us dumb and lazy, right? Don't buy into it. Don't buy into it. You guys are the best hope that we have, and I hope you make all of us look like idiots. That's my one prayer that I have. So,
You dropped the jewels, Todd. Let's do it again sometime soon, man. We'll talk Spawn movie stuff.
Oh, hopefully I have a bunch of news for that. So
yeah, man.
Yeah.
All right, take care.
All right, be good, gentlemen.